Good morning, everyone. This is Carter Wilcoxon, CSI Financial Group. We're on here for our fourth eState of the Union address. A couple of our panelists that we have today, I'd like to be able to welcome on Andrew Victor. Andrew, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you great. Good morning, everyone. Glad you're here.
Fantastic. Awesome. And Scott Garcia, Director of Business Development. Scott, are you there?
Good morning, everyone. I am here.
Awesome, fantastic. Well, hey, it's Monday morning. It's fall out here in Phoenix, Arizona. We want to keep this limited to about 30 minutes as a maximum. But really, what we want to do is we kind of sort of want to take a step back, because as we've continued going down this path, what we've done is we've had a lot of different experiences that have enabled us to really understand better the processes that we are incorporating sort of from the beginning. And now what we've done is we've been refining some of those processes. And Scott, I know that you've had a tremendous amount of success already in the St. Louis area. And I know you've been working with a lot of our prospective advisor partners, as we call them. If you don't mind, talk a little bit about, the bringing on Stacy Pearson on how that's been able to help, not only advisors be able to understand that the best practices should actually be that they're doing their own trust themselves, going through their own process themselves, so that they can understand exactly how our 7 steps to the magic is really working. But more importantly than that, talk on, if you don't mind, you've been doing this now for a couple of years, on just how important, foundationally speaking, getting your affairs in order really is. We all know on this phone call that eventually we're going to get to the point where we're going to be underneath favorable circumstances to make the recommendations that we're going to make. That's just understood. But if we don't go through the proper steps and the processes in the very beginning, foundationally, to help these end users get their affairs in order, it'll be all for naught. So Scott, if you don't mind, just kind of sort of take us back and talk a little bit about just how important it is educating the end user client from the very beginning, is so that we can then eventually help them. And then you can talk a little bit about your own successes that you've had with regards to bringing assets over now, eliminating conservation, utilizing our trust services and our strategic partnership with Trust Bank and things of that nature. But take us back one step on just how important it is, on what it is that we're really doing to help these clients out from the beginning without the assets that we eventually are going to get to. Just talk on that just a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure, I'd love to. And let me say this, Carter, I can sum up real quick. I can give you a 10-second answer. And I hope everybody on the line listens to this, not only today, but in the future. If your goal is to advise people on their money first, you will fail, period. If your goal is to advise people on their money, I would rather you not even get involved with our process at all, because you're going to not only fail, but you'll cause problems with us. This whole system is based on helping the client, providing a service that they need, that they really have very little or no access to. They're totally uneducated on it. All of their advisors, whether it's a banker, a stockbroker, their physician, who knows, has never educated on this. Even the attorney, you have to realize a lot of the attorneys, unfortunately, make more money if the client goes through probate. So there's kind of a disincentive for a lot of attorneys to even bring up the estate planning process to their client. So our foundation is having you be able to offer a service that's going to enable you to talk to these people, because they want to talk to you about their estate plan, because they don't know all the pitfalls and things that can happen. So the farthest thing from my mind when I do a seminar or when somebody comes into the office is their money. It's the furthest thing from my mind. And here's why. I know if we do this process correctly and we serve them and give them something they never had before that was not available in any other source to them, the way we provide it, they want to do all their business with you. That's the way it works, guys. So I don't know if I answered the question correctly, Carter, but please, if you are in this situation where you want to get to the money and invest their money and put it in annuity and life insurance and all this, that's your main goal, please do not get involved with our process, because you'll just cause problems for you, us, and really the most important thing is for the client. Now, the benefit of offering this service is, as I found out after I was in the business 30 years, is because, again, clients don't have access to this information, they're going to want to come to your seminar. We're getting people at the droves. I've got 126 people signed up for my event this week. Sheldon Novak has he has maxed out his situation. Sheldon Novak, if you talk to him, and I'd like to just talk about him a little bit. He's one of the guys who said, Scott, when we started this process, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. Just show me how to do it. Tell me how to do it. I'm going to just keep all my 35 years experience to the side. And the gentleman's having a lot of success. He's having fun. He can't wait to come in every day. People are coming to see him. Sheldon totally changed his business along with myself. He wrote more commissions last month probably than he did in the last quarter, any quarter he had the last 10 years. And it's consistent business, guys. And it's because we're doing the process correctly. So we have a situation where people need the education on what we're doing. We have a distribution plan where you have a team of professionals that can distribute this. You're not doing all the work. In fact, you're doing very little work. I'm making more money today, and Sheldon would probably agree, in less time because we're handing most of this off to other professionals that help us do our job. When I have somebody come in and implement a trust, I turn the trust to specific trust directors, which is just a fancy word for how do you want your stuff distributed when you die. Don Dacey does that. He's a 35-year veteran. I don't pay Don anything, neither will you, but that's all on Don. That's an hour that he spends with the client that we don't have to spend with the client. Then we have the attorney review. Well, we just set that up. I mean, the attorney does the phone call for you guys. You don't even have to be involved in that. I would be involved if I was you, but you don't have to be involved. But that's time Jennifer or Jeff Hackney spend, and they do a great job. They work for you, okay? That doesn't cost you anything. Then we get to the process of the funding, which is a great process using Nevada trust law. If we use state law mostly, probably in your state, it would probably take 7 to 8 weeks to fund a trust. With Nevada trust law, we can do it in about 30 minutes. And you can give the ease of that process to your clients as they go on throughout their lives. In 10 years, if they sell a car, they don't got to get it retitled, go down to the DMV. They can simply log into their console, delete the old car, put the new car information in. So that's just a huge benefit. That kind of process gives you referral capabilities or client introduction abilities because it's so simple and seamless. They're going to tell their friends. And then we have Stacy Pearson. Stacy's a godsend. First of all, the most important thing about Stacy is not only her education, but her attitude. I've never called this woman, whether it be Saturday morning, Sunday night, Tuesday morning, whatever, and she's never said no. It's always yes. How can I help? Can you call my client on Sunday? Yes, I can. I mean, she's amazing. And now she's training not only our agents, which we didn't have 2 months ago. Now, as a new agent, you get to go through 4 hours of training. And again, people who say that's not helpful just aren't listening, because that's going to give you a good foundation of what's going on. But she also trains our clients. That's hugely important because Stacy shows the clients the benefit of the eVault, which you'll learn about, which is a situation where they put an unlimited number of documents in their console, and then they take ownership of this thing, and they'll tell their friends, man, I got a cool trust. I put all my stuff in here, and the picture of my wedding ring and all this, and my kids know where it's going to go because I have a picture of it. It's not just written down in a trust somewhere where it could be lost or burnt. It's in my secured client console. That kind of thing will give you guys the ability to get new client introductions. Okay. We also have a situation where Stacy shows them how to write love letters to their kids, instructions on things that from the grave their kids will get. This is a program offered nowhere else, guys. It's not a piece of paper in a binder. This is something that's going to really change the industry, and you guys have the ability to use that. So, Carter, all right, let me get to the funding. Okay, guys, I've been in the business 32 years. I've had really good years. I've had some average years. I've made a lot of money in this business. I've never been in a situation where I have a trust company that actually we have a relationship with that they say, Scott, we work for you. So now I can turn my clients over and say, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you bought in our package the ability to use the Wealth Services Department of Trust Bank, a 106-year-old fiduciary FDIC insured bank that's rated number 5 by Bauer. Why don't we let them do an analysis for you? The client always says, okay. Again, I don't do any work. I then send this information to Trust Bank. They do the analysis. The client comes back. Trust Bank has a PowerPoint situation, a PowerPoint presentation already set up for the client. Trust Bank goes through that presentation, asks to move the money, and then we move the money to Trust Bank. Then we have an allocation call. Trust Bank then says, you know what, you shouldn't have all your money in risky stuff. Scott's your safe guy. Why don't you put some money with Scott? We really suggest you do that. He's going to talk to you about that. He's great. They edify me, and then I have a 12 to 15-minute presentation that I do after the Trust Bank call. After the money's in Trust Bank, that I suggest clients move 40 to 50% of the money into a safe account. And with Trust Bank certification, 100% of the people do that. So normally in an annuity sale, it might take me 5 or 6 hours and a lot of paperwork and presentations. I'm doing triple the annuity volume of business, and my presentations are now about 18 minutes total, and I do no work at all. So that's the power of that. The other thing we have going is we have a Harvard graduate, Andrew Victor, who on every one of my cases does a cash flow analysis, professionally done. I mean, if I hired Andrew, I'd have to pay him $100,000 a year myself to do all the work he does. He not only does all I do is send the stuff to Andrew. He develops the whole case, all the cash flow, risk, and everything. He then gets on the phone with the client and does the call. I mean, I don't have enough money in my past life to pay Andrew enough to do his job, but that service is for you guys at no charge. Andrew's help, 22 years in the business. I thought I knew life insurance, and Sheldon can attest to this too. He's been in the business longer than I do. Sheldon came to me about a week after he met Andrew and said, this guy's amazing. So Andrew is just there to make you increase your income and help your clients with tax-free income, which their broker is not talking to them about at all. So when we take all that into effect, the situation where you can drop off your client to Don Dacey to do the trust directives. You've got 2 attorneys working for you. You've got Andrew and Trust Bank in your back pocket. I mean, guys, it would cost you probably $1 million a year to have these people working for you, and it's all at no cost. So Carter, hope I didn't leave anything out. That's my true and honest feeling, dated today on October 22nd. Okay?
Yeah. You know what, Scott? Thank you for that. And, I know that, you have so much passion for what it is that you're doing. And it all starts with, at the end of the day, it starts with the clients on helping assist them and giving them, and you said the word earlier, access to something that they had never had access to before.
Sure.
So if you don't mind, and you just touched on Andrew Victor and his years of experience in the cash flow analysis, Andrew, I want to bring you in just a little bit to talk a little bit more specifically on just how important that is and how we are elevating the client experience because of your direct assistance with the advisors like Scott and others like him out there, as well as, and I know that you fly around the country educating clients on, tax-free income and things of that nature. Just talk to the audience today about some of the things that you've been able to help with, not only with Scott, but others like him.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Carter. Scott, I thought that was great. Great summation. Again, reiterating Scott's point, the first objective is to protect the client's assets and the client themselves, and that's the trust. The second is to protect the client's income. And so what I focus on with the cash flow part of the analysis, that's at the end after the trust is done, is looking at what their current situation is, where their income sources are going to be it pension, Social Security, or just taking money from their different asset buckets, and essentially put together 5 different comparisons on there's a better way. And what we're focusing on there is, all right, comparing what their current situation is versus what if we simply reduce the risk to their overall portfolio, and we can do that with index annuities. Or what if we look at doing some tax mitigation where we do some conversions of their IRA assets into Roth IRAs. And the focus of the tax mitigation part is with many of these clients, they're paying voluntary taxes on their Social Security. I can't tell you how many times I've had a conversation with Scott and one of his clients, or one of Sheldon or Camacho's, et cetera, where they're saying, no, I want to take my Social Security at 70 because I'm going to get the most amount of money. And I'm going to say, actually, if we start it at 62, not only are you going to get more money long term because you're keeping more, you're avoiding taxation, but we're also going to get your overall income plan into safe resources where you might not pay taxes for 15, 20 years. And people's mouths just drop open. They're like, how is that possible? So we look at Roth conversions, and then we do another comparison to using what we call a TORCA, a tax offset Roth conversion alternative, using some life insurance design. And we have basically on one piece of paper 4 or 5 comparisons of what they're currently doing versus simply using any one of our strategies. And the client always says, yeah, I want to talk to Andrew. And that's what happens in that final funding meeting where the trust is funded. You go through for 10, 15-minute review with the client in terms of the cash flow. And you simply say, do you want to have a conversation with Andrew? And when we do these cash flow analysis, I'd say, well, certainly 100% of the time we're showing greater asset valuations towards the end of their life, but we're also in many cases showing how if they do nothing, they run out of money, where if they do a plan with us, they may have $1 million left over to give to their kids and grandkids, and that's all tax-free. So that's what we focus at the end once the trust is done. Scott, anything else you want to add to that?
I would just go back and, a lot of these guys don't have a lot of experience in doing that type of planning. Again, it's totally changed my career where, when somebody said what you said, Andrew, I'll wait to 70 to get the most out of my Social Security, I was convinced, yeah, you're probably right. Well, what you guys will experience, a big eye opener, is Andrew's ability to take that case, normal feeling. See what happens is people don't know what they don't know. And when Andrew does these cash flows and shows them an option where they're getting more money quicker, tax-free, these are just amazing cases for the client. I mean, it's just amazing. The client's eyes, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And, there's no competition because nobody else is showing them this stuff. If they've got a stockbroker, that's the last person's going to show them this kind of planning. And I guess the other news is, which is kind of ironic, is we make even more money. These are large cases. I mean, I tell everybody that interviews with me here in St. Louis, or if you're on the phone with me from wherever, Andrew's help will make you probably, I'll go low. It'll make you an extra $100,000 a year. And if you're making that type of money extra over and above what you're doing now, it just tells me you're helping more people.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, and the other thing that's important is our sweet spot is not million plus assets under management. This is, we're doing these cases for people who have $250,000, $200,000 in their IRA or 401k account. These are not quote unquote large cases in terms of the asset valuation that the clients have. And what becomes even more important, especially with these clients who only have, I'll use air quotes, only have $200,000 in their 401k, they need us more than the person who has $2 million. They walk out the door without doing any planning. Their income is not protected. Their assets might be protected because we've done the right job in terms of setting up the trust, but we have not completed our job in terms of protecting their income. And we can only do that after we protect their assets.
Yeah. Hey, Andrew, I couldn't agree with you more on that. That's a great point. A lot of these estate planning seminars, whatever they're doing, try to go after the $1 million client. We want to go mom and pop, like you said, 150,000 to 500,000. We'll make a big difference in their lives. And when we do that, the client introductions come because, again, nobody else is showing them this type of planning or the service we provide with the estate plan.
Perfect. And so, go ahead, Carter.
Okay, well, I just want to, since you've said this a couple of times now, I think the part that a lot of times some of the prospective advisor partners that we've been sharing with this, I think they lose sight of the plan part of estate planning. This is, and Scott, you and I talked about this just recently. Sometimes we feel like that you may think that what we're doing here is like a gimmick to get to the assets. And Scott, maybe you can talk on that a little bit because we did talk in depth about that. Guys, I need you to understand the last thing that this is a gimmick. We are planning their estate, right? So that actually makes you estate planners, whether you're doing life insurance, annuities, or whatever the case may be. That plan part of estate planning is the thing that should be focused on. And that's what I wanted to reiterate from the very beginning. This is not, and I repeat, this is not a gimmick. This is impactful to help people's lives to and through retirement. And when you get involved in our system and you understand and we educate you from beginning to end, you're going to know more in about a 6 to 8 month time horizon than you probably knew in your entire history of the financial services arena. Is that fair, Scott?
Totally fair. And I'll reiterate what I said before. Although we want advisors and we want advisors helping people, if you really have that feeling it's a gimmick, it's just a way to get to the money, we don't want you. We don't need you. Please stay away as far as you can. We want the kind of guys or gals who had the feeling I had. This is my personal opinion. Carter and Andrew, you guys can disagree. When I went to my first estate planning seminar that I took place in and spoke at, and I realized the estate plan, how important it is. When I realized that, hey, my clients, if they're in a car accident and they're both in a coma, their kids can't get any information. I didn't really realize that. I was selling out life insurance and annuities. I didn't realize that if they're in a coma, their kids call Athene or Allianz or whatever insurance company and say, my mom, I need some money from my mom. She needs care. That they're not going to be able to get that money, or the spouse can't even get the money. When I realized how important an estate plan was fundamentally to these people, I felt bad. It's like, my gosh, what I do for 30 years, I've not been really helping these people the best way I can. I put all my clients in this situation. I never brought this up. So again, being in the business 30 years, I was kind of really, if I have to admit it, I was pretty bored talking about annuities and life insurance every darn day. I mean, how exciting is it to talk about annuities and life insurance every day? And how easy is it to get client introduction saying, who do you know wants to buy an annuity or needs Social Security? I mean, you talk about boring. If you're not bored with that, I think you should probably go see a doctor. What this has done with me is to be able to offer this information where people have real interest, their eyes light up. I had no idea that was going to happen. You can really help them. That's the kind of advisor we're looking for. If you don't think this is the foundation of what we're doing, and I'll go to the point of, I had a conference call this morning, a new advisor on the phone. I said, if somebody comes in the office and says, that was a really neat idea you showed about the tax-free planning, or I'm going to save on my Social Security taxes, or I like that annuity, what you need to tell them is, that's fantastic. We'll get to that in about the third or fourth interview. What we want to do is get you a good legal foundation. If you don't have that attitude, then this probably, well, I know it won't work for you. And we don't even want you to even be on another call. We want people who really want to help people, give them the service they deserve, help their family. If you do it that way, you'll make more money than you ever made in your entire lifetime. Okay? So, Carter, I hope that's what you wanted me to address.
It is perfect, Scott. And one last thing, and then maybe Andrew, if you've got something else you want to talk about, because I do want to keep this about 30 minutes today, and we're right at about that. I want to talk about, because this is so foundational, because you are honestly, truly assisting and giving access to something that these clients, 50, 60, 70, 80-year-olds, never had access to until now, in the most cost-effective and efficient manner ever conceived, revolutionary with our entire platform. And you'll learn about this. Talk just a little bit about just how, because of that approach, how just easy the introduction conversation is with the clients that you're helping now to now help those that they care about.
That's directed at Andrew or me?
At you, Scott, because I know we just talked about that just recently.
Okay, you're talking about the client introduction process?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's go back. I mean, let's go back to 2 years ago when I sat down with a client. They were happy. I'd say, well, who do you know that would need my services, that's looking to retire, is complains about their income, or is maybe frustrated with interest rates, or wants safety because the market's been so good? People don't want to refer, at least, and you guys could be different, but in my 30-year experience, and I think I'm pretty good at what I do, I didn't get a lot of referrals that way. I'd get calls, Joe's retiring and all that, but on a daily basis, I wasn't getting referrals 3 and 4 a day. I mean, if you are, please call me because I'd like to hear your approach. So with this system, the neat thing about what we do, again, estate planning, nobody really has done it. There's not accessibility to this information. When I have a client come in after the whole process is done, so I've seen about 5 or 6 times at this point, and I know they have 3 or 4 kids, I'll have the couple in my office and I'll say, let me ask you a question, John and Mary. I just want to cover one last thing. And, we appreciate you guys being clients. We're going to know each other for a long time. And this has just been a great, wonderful experience. I want to go over something so I'm prepared when it happens. And that is when your son, Jason, gets sick and he's in a hospital after a car accident, and you guys call me and say, hey, Scott, we can't get any information on our son. He's in the hospital. What can we do? I want you to tell me right now what you want me to say. And that's what you'll hear. You'll hear silence. And then I say it again. I say, when something happens to your kids and you can't get information, or their spouse can't get information on one of your children, I want you to tell me what to say so I say it correctly for you. And again, there'll be silence. And I say, well, here's the real truth. I don't want to have that conversation with you guys. And there's only one way to make sure we don't. We provide a service to offer the free HIPAA-compliant healthcare power of attorney, and I would like to provide that service and all the documents totally free to your children. So what I want you to do tonight is call them tonight, let them know I'm going to call, but right now give me their phone numbers and addresses so I can set up those times to do that. And then I've got 5 referrals of people, kids probably 47 to 38 years old. I'm going to go talk to them, do their healthcare power of attorney, talk to them about their retirement planning, probably get into Andrew involved because we can do some really neat stuff at things that age. And then what's going to happen is on their spouses, I'm going to get referred up. See, I got referred down with the client to their kids, but with the kids' spouses, I go see Jason. He's married to Mary. Well, Mary's parents are 65 years old or 72. I'm going to get referred back up because her parents don't have healthcare power of attorneys. So last month, the number was 52 referrals. And I think I only got 52 because I didn't ask every time. I could have probably got 100. Okay, so that's a built-in referral source. Being able to offer that free healthcare power of attorney is a godsend because we know this. Probably about 95% of all people don't have a healthcare power of attorney. So again, this will give you some rejuvenation in your career. You're not talking about boring life insurance and annuities. You're talking about something that's totally untapped. People know nothing about, and they really, really need the service. So. Carter, I leave anything out? Is that good?
No, that's absolutely perfect. And what I wanted, the reason why I wanted you to say that, Scott, is because here's the thing that I need advisors now to understand. Because we have been developing this and refining it along the way with the experiences, what we've realized is that we have this proprietary process called the 7 steps to the magic, which is where you eventually get to the assets to help you, make the recommendations. But along the way, there are multiple touches that are going to occur. And here's what's now going to happen. When we go through the first initial client intake, we're essentially putting the clients on a conveyor belt where they go on and they eventually come back to you. But each step along the way, Don Dacey, who will be the specific trust directive specialist, that'll be the very first conversation, and we'll teach you how to do that, how to click on this. What you're looking on the screen right now is this is an interactive PDF that everybody should have. If not, please email me. Make sure that you get the most updated version. You simply open this up, click on his calendar, and go through it whenever you do the client intake with the client. Get on his calendar. At that appointment, and then once he gives those clients over to Stacy, when they do the client training, when we give them over to Jennifer, she's going through the applicability and suitability of documents, and then they eventually get back to you. Every step along the way, each one of these team members that are now your team members. Scott talked about the amount of payroll it would cost to be able to get everybody on the screen to be able to pay for them. We're talking about close to 250 years of combined experience in all of these areas, multidisciplinary areas that the entire team that you're looking at, you now have full unencumbered access. But each one of these steps along the way, Don, Stacy, Jennifer, or Jeff, during that conversation that they have with them, they are going to remind those clients to introduce you when you go back to your advisor for the funding, to introduce you to others you care about. So you don't even have to remember to ask for introductions necessarily, because by the time they get back to you, they will have heard it from 3 or 4 other touch points that are going to encourage them to introduce you, which is going to make it so much easier for that introductory conversation in the first place. So, Scott, I appreciate you bringing that back into fruition or bringing that back full circle. And I really think it bears repeating. The amount of cost in order to have the team that you now have turnkey, this team approach to tap into, because we all have a vested interest in each other's success, is priceless. The amount of experience is priceless. We all have our disciplines that we're very good at. And with that, I want to just leave the last words to Andrew. If you just want to touch on just a little bit about some of these processes that we've refined over the last 6-8 months on that note.
Yeah, and just to add a couple of things, keep in mind the healthcare powers of attorney; those are free. But also, if let's say son of client of yours wants to a trust, that's also discounted. Another thing I wanted to point out is if you've already done the first 2 modules of training with Stacy Pearson and you have not gotten on my calendar, go ahead and do so. Click on the Calendly link on the interactive PDF you're looking at here, and book some time with me. We do one-on-one training with me because it's pretty, there's a lot of different nuances with the different strategies we look at, and we want to make sure that you're presenting this correctly so that we don't stumble before we get the opportunity to have the client on the phone with me and you to go through different options they have. I'd say this in terms of just sort of finalizing the thought on the cash flow planning. I think what Carter, over the last year and a half, we've looked at 15 to 20 different software packages in the financial services industry that work in the quote unquote financial planning arena. And we've only found one that gets close to what actually is happening in terms of the tax mitigation planning. To that point, we have a guy on staff, Matt Keeley, who has been working on setting up our own proprietary software system for the cash flow planning. We are actually on our final stages of that right now. So that's the good news. I think we are at the end of this week done with that. So that's good news there. But there's a lot of nuance, and the reason for doing all these comparisons between current, reduced risk, tax efficiency, TORCA, et cetera, is some clients are not going to want to do life insurance. Some clients are not going to want to do Roth conversions. Some clients are simply going to want to have trust bank manage the assets, or trust bank with the reduced risk index annuities for part of their portfolio. That's fine. I don't want to paint a situation where they got to choose one direction, which is the quote unquote correct direction, versus what they're currently doing. There are many different options they can choose, and their current advisor are not talking about this because the current advisor does not understand it. I've been doing this 22 years in the industry. 4 of those years was on the retail side. I switched over to the wholesale side. I've been working with the wirehouse brokers around the country for 12 years, and they don't get it. Merrill Lynch, UBS, those folks, they'll say they get it. What they're focused on is assets under management and growing the bucket of money. Our goal is, okay, you have this bucket of money. Where are you getting your income? How do we protect your income? I don't care about how big your bucket of money is at first. I care about what your income is. So that's our primary focus, and it's a plan, not a transaction. So I'm going to finish up on that. Carter, any last words you want to add to this?
Yeah, just one last thing I do want to leave everybody here with, and this is important because, 35, 40 minutes of talking about a lot of stuff here. When we formed CSI Financial Group, it was all with the intention of being laser focused on client acquisition, client retention, and advisor support. So we created what we call the Advisor Partner Platform, which makes up 4 pillars of success. Number 1, it's training. Number 2, it's mentoring. Number three, it's marketing. We create marketing things specifically client facing to help assist you with the story on the concepts. And last, and certainly not least, is the support. And what you now have here is a supportive staff and team taking this approach and bringing something to market that does not currently exist. So that's really all I wanted to finish up saying. Understand that you don't have to know everything that we're talking about. Just know that you've got a team to be able to tap into that does know how to be able to help guide, assist you and your clients with regards to that client acquisition and client retention to help differentiate you out there in the marketplace. So with that, Scott, thank you very much for your time today. Andrew, thank you very much for your time today. Do you, either one of you have any last minute things to say?
I would like to say something.
Okay, fire away, bud.
For all those advisors out there listening, this situation, this program does not exist anywhere. And this is an opportunity to really change your total practice and be one of the advisors in your area, because we do offer exclusive territories if you qualify. But this situation where you can offer these services does not exist anywhere. So hopefully you'll look into it and make a good decision. But it's totally changed my career, and I'll probably experience quadrupling of my income just this year, the first year, and I see that growing and growing. So if you want to make more money in less time, but the most important thing is offer your clients something they're not getting, that they have really little access to, and do that on a favorable basis. Have your own trust platform, have your own trust company you have an affiliation with, have your own tax-free income planner, have on your staff a lady that's spoken in front of the United Nations twice, how good she is. Also have 2 attorneys on your staff. And we're in the foundation growth of this, guys. This system is in the infancy. So keep that in mind when you're looking at our organization. But please, 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 if you really don't want to put the client first, you're out for the money and the commissions, we don't want that. We want somebody who really feels that they're helping people, providing a service, and then we will get to the assets in time to help them. Don't worry about that. But we want the right person. That's all I want to add, Carter.
No, hey, you know what? That's great. I want to thank everybody on here. Again, if you're listening to this or watching this, you can reach out to anybody on here. And if you don't have this interactive PDF, literally we created this to make it nice and easy through the process of our 7 steps that we talk about. Make sure you reach out to us, email us, call here at the office. The phone number 888-316-6040. For Andrew Victor, Scott Garcia, this is Carter Wilcoxon, founder of CSI Financial Group. We thank you for your time today, and everybody have a great and wonderful rest of the week and rest of the month. Thank you, everyone.